recognizing Rockport's town meeting, which will be held this Saturday, September 26th, outdoors at 8 o'clock at Rockport High School. I am talking to the Rockport Town Moderator, Bob Visnick. Hi, Bob.
Hi, how are you, Heather?
I'm good, thank you. Bob, how many years have you been the Rockport Town Moderator?
I've been the Rockport Town Moderator since September of 2006. So this is 14 years,
Nice.
which is a frightening thing to say.
Well, so this meeting and the last are the town's first pandemic town meetings in a little over 100 years. I think it's just so admirable that you have found a way to keep town meeting going and as best you can.
Well, I mean, all communities, as far as I know, are continuing to operate. I have my particular view on this because I, of course, live in a household with scientists and nurses, and in a former life, I was, a biologist and a chemist. So I have great respect for this. Early on in COVID, we lost a lot of clients as a result. So I am probably a little more conservative than many moderators in terms of the procedure that I want us to follow to keep everybody safe. Because of course, you and I today are speaking virtually over Zoom, because theoretically it's not safe for us to have this meeting any other way. The boards of selectmen and the zoning boards and all of those entities are meeting in the same way, yet we expect the older, more vulnerable members of the community to get together in a gymnasium and spend several hours breathing the same air. And so as I thought of that, that's really unacceptable. And the legislature has done a lot to assist with COVID-related issues and keeping the state running. But in this situation, what they were able to pass is a law that says that moderators in a town that has a representative town meeting, if they think that it's not safe to have a meeting, they can have it virtually. But the same choice was not presented to a moderator in an open town meeting. And so, I found that very disappointing. But, our elected officials and, colleagues of mine pointed out that other communities were doing virtual meetings. And so, hybrid meetings. And so that's what, that's what I chose to do, and emulated the Ipswich town meeting, using the same individual to provide radio service to the vehicles that, those people who choose to remain in their vehicles should have radio communication. They should be able to do three things. They should be able to hear, they should be able to participate, and they should be able to vote. And we were able to accomplish all of those things. It's a little awkward, it's a little slow, but it worked in the first meeting, and I'm very hopeful that it will work again on Saturday. The preliminary forecast is that it's supposed to be dry.
That's the most important part, yeah.
And so hopefully we'll get through our agenda and get out. And then the hope is that by next spring, we're able to either have a fully virtual meeting if we're still in this state of emergency, but the real hope is that we won't be in this state of emergency and we'll be able to meet again as normal.
So is there a possibility that the state will change regulations and if we need to, we can go to fully virtual with town meeting?
Yes, I mean, the last that I've heard is that the proposal that I'm hopeful about is on the table at the legislature. I haven't, been told of its advancement through towards being a law, but I also haven't heard that it's been defeated.
You need to talk to your friend Bruce Tarr.
Absolutely, yes.
move that along. I mean, that's just so interesting because one of the questions I had for you is the issue of attendance in any town meeting. And
Yes.
that's been a problem. So if, they could be virtual, maybe that would be helpful. What do you think about that?
Even before COVID, I'm always thinking about how we can increase the participation in the meetings. And when people criticize the meetings, it's because 200 or 300 people are making decisions for the whole community. Well, we should make this process more available and accessible. We have to recognize that the world is different than it used to be, and that parents are taking their kids to events on Saturdays, or people are coming home from a hard day of work on a Monday. And so it's difficult to get people to attend meetings. And so I personally would be a fan of being able to have a virtual meeting at all times. And I realize that's not the view of all people, but it would be my personal view. I think, as I told you earlier, in a different part of my professional life, when I was an active duty judge advocate, I was part of a teaching unit that went to different countries and with the State Department and talked to them about the rule of law and democratic processes. And I went to, for example, Belarus, which is now having difficulty with their elections and with voting. And I had several people, come to me and say, "You Americans are so lucky. You have free elections. You don't have political pressure to vote one particular way or another. Why is your attendance so low?" And so that's not just for town meetings. It's for normal, state and federal elections. And so maybe that's part of a little complacency that we have as Americans. Maybe it's because we don't talk to our kids enough about civics and about how to participate in a democracy. Maybe it's a cynicism that we have, that our vote doesn't count, but it really does count. And our last federal election showed that it counted in a very strong way, just a handful of votes in different states. And oftentimes we have things at town meeting that pass or fail by a very small number of votes. So it is important. It's critically important. And I get on my bully pulpit to the extent that I can and try to encourage people to show up. And sometimes I do it in a kidding way, but we have a very good form of government, and we have to exercise it. And we have to encourage people to vote regardless of how they're going to vote. You just have to vote. I mean, it would be nice if everybody would be informed on the issues, but nonetheless, I think we all have that duty to try to get more people to vote. And if that means that people can vote from their iPhone because they're at a soccer game, I'm fine with that.
Wow, that would be great, wouldn't it? That's amazing.
I think it would. I mean, again, I think people would disagree with that, but again, that's an American right.
Right. Well, it seems to me that would encourage people to stay informed too.
Yes.
If they knew that it was much more flexible, the voting process. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard on many different contexts, people saying, well, it was really hard to go to the meeting or to vote. And so I didn't, but I'm going to complain about the results. I'm like, no, don't complain about the results. Either participate or grin and bear it.
Right.
Because you have a duty.
Right.
And we all do as Americans. We have this wonderful form of government. And it's particularly wonderful in an open town meeting.
It is particularly wonderful. It is democracy, pure democracy right there.
That's right. All of us in Rockport are caretakers of a very long, wonderful tradition that came right from the founding fathers.
Well, thank you for that. And you are always respectful, but you're also very good up there at keeping us engaged, maybe I should say. So let's just talk about what's happening on Saturday.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a simple meeting. Do you want to talk about the warrant a little bit?
Sure. What we have done with these past COVID meetings is we're just fulfilling a mission that we have to have these meetings. And so the one we had in the spring, my request of the selectmen was that we have on the warrant what is needed to be on the warrant to keep the town functioning. And so that was primarily budgetary matters. And there were, of course, citizen petitions, and we couldn't just willy-nilly not hear them, but we worked with town council, and Mr. Murphy made a motion to continue those until such time as the state of emergency had ended. And so we could really hear them and give them justice, and people that had slides could show slides, and we could have long presentations. It just didn't seem, in my view, that it was safe to have the lengthy, discussions about those things. And it didn't seem fair to the applicants. And I would expect that I've gotten a lot of grief over that, in social media and the like, but I guess I'm charged with doing this and fulfilling my duty as I believe necessary. And from a public safety point of view, I just couldn't see having these meetings taking any longer than they had to. So the fall meeting is primarily set up to deal with either adjustments to the budget. Normally it's, of course, April and September, so there's a longer period of time to have adjustments, to pay things from prior years. And then the last several years to deal with items in the community preservation quiver. So that's what we're doing. We're hearing those, and the hope is that the meeting is even shorter than the Springtown meeting.
Great. And what will happen with the citizen petitions?
What was voted in the spring is that they're not heard until such time as it is safe to have a meeting. So it'll either be at a Zoom, and I guess precisely it was until the state of emergency ends. But if the legislature gave us the tools that I've requested, then it could be at one of those meetings. And the pledge that the selectmen made, because we couldn't bind them to it, but the pledge was that they would themselves put those things on the warrant so that the petitioners wouldn't have to go through again and get signatures and things like that.
Great, great. Well, thank you for all you do. And I will see you Saturday morning, either in my car or probably on the lawn. But thank you for all your work, and thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you on Saturday.